Hello there, a very good evening to you. I am Fatima Abbas Hassan, and I'm most delighted to be with you again on News Extra after many years. Now, remember that saying by our African elders that a big masquerade does not come out in the afternoon, and if it does, then something is up. Well, you should get my drift if you are in tune with recent happenings in the country. It's time for 1.5 hours of news from different parts of Nigeria and beyond, treated with the extra touch of fine details to give you all the perspectives of recent and unfolding events. Leading these recent happenings is the reason I'm standing in tonight. The industrial action embarked upon by labor unions, which is in its second day today, and we shall bring you all the narratives around it. You haven't heard the last of the conversation on Hajj and visa cancellation, as this formed part of today's deliberations at the House of Representatives. Now, a new livestock development plan comes aboard as farm produce flood markets amid high prices. What is the way out? Together, we shall get to find out. Also tonight, on the lineup are a bit of business, sports, and much to watch out for. Now, if you stay tuned, you will get the full package, and you have to be told, after all, the taste of the pudding is in the eating. Thank you. An end to the ongoing nationwide strike by organized labor seems close after fruitful deliberations between the leadership of the organized labor and the federal government. The Minister of Labor and Employment, Simon Lalong, and the President of TUC, Festus Osifo, are optimistic that the dialogue will yield positive results, with labor also saying it will deliberate on all the issues discussed in the parley before deciding its next course of action.
Very, very fruitful discussion, and also very genuine and very frank, and which they also agree that taking back home their constituency with a plea to lift up the strike so that we can continue in our deliberations.
Okay, have you reached any commitment yet, or is ongoing discussion?
No, it's an ongoing discussion.
So we had some robust conversations where a lot of assurances were given, lots of in furtherance to the release that was done this morning by the NSA, that some people have been apprehended and that they will coordinate the investigation. So we also told him our part of the story and all that. But at the end of the day, they made several appeals to us and several promises on what they are going to do and the ones that they have done currently. So we said, let's go back, we'll reappraise all the conversations that we have had, and we'll communicate accordingly.
Now, the engagement took place at the Office of the National Security Advisor, Nuhu Ribadu, who was in attendance. Also present was the Minister of State, Labor and Employment, Nkiru Ka Onye Giocha, and the NLC Secretary General, Emmanuel Ugboaja, and other labor leaders. Now, day 2 of the indefinite strike declared by the Nigerian Labour Congress and the Trade Union Congress is having more far-reaching impact on the operations of government institutions in Lagos, with substantial compliance by workers. Joel Popola reports that business activities are going on hitch-free in areas dominated by the private sector.
Unlike the situation on the first day when the strike by organized labor commenced, compliance level has increased significantly, with only management staff in the Federal Radio Corporation of Nigeria, Voice of Nigeria and other MDAs working. Officials of the Radio, Television and Theatre Art Workers Union, RATAU, also enforced the NLC and TUC directives.
It builds with momentum. So as of yesterday, I can say that there is 16%, 60% compliance. But moving forward, especially from today, I know the momentum will keep on building up. So it is our also expectation that whatever the issue are between the union and the federal government, that the federal government should find a way to resolve this issue.
The scenario at the office of the Ministry of Labour and Employment attests to the impact of the strike. Just like the Ministry of Labour, most government-owned agencies are either rendering skeletal services or not operating at all.
The Nigerian Film and Video Censors Board is one of the federal government institutions that has joined the ongoing industrial action declared by organized labor. The entrance is under lock. Since like this, experts say it's going to have serious impact on the economy.
Obalende on the Lagos Island maintained its usual hive of activity as many carried on oblivious of the industrial action by organized labor.
In fact, if not because they mentioned it, I don't know there is strike. I read about it that there's going to be strike midnight, something on Sunday or Monday, but there's no strike anywhere. Nigerians are not on strike anymore. Nigerians know that strike is not doing anything anymore. So let's just get going.
Industrial harmony, experts say, is germane for the nation's economy to thrive, and needless friction between labor and government should be avoided.
So we appeal to the federal government to kindly hearken or listen to these people, call them together, have a discussion and agree on a term that will actually suit everybody.
Nigerians hope normalcy will be restored as soon as possible for government activities to return to optimal capacity. In Lagos, Joel Bola, NTA News.
In the meantime, the nationwide strike action called by the NLC and TUC, which entered day 2 today, was a daunting experience for the National Assembly staff, visitors and members of the media who arrived at the National Assembly gate as usual to carry out their duties for the day. No work today, go back home. That was the order from the striking union. Ignatius Nkwo was also caught up in the web of the industrial conflict earlier in the day. Now tells us more.
Well, the situation here in front of the main entrance to the National Assembly was quite perplexing. Well, if you ask me, it's not as if people were not aware of the ongoing industrial action by Labour and TUC. But I'll tell you, usually when things like this happen, you come here, you find out sometimes they only allow certain staff who are really quite important to the day's proceedings in both chambers of the National Assembly to enter. But today, as early as 8:30 this morning, we are all here and we discovered that there was already traffic here and the gate we are all locked. And then some of us will try to go to through the office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation. There's another gate that leads into the National Assembly there. Some of us went to the extent of going to see if we can access that place. But that same place, that place was also locked. So the issue that some people who came very, very early had access and they went in. But the major issue is that those who are going to, oversee the management of the chamber, that's the proceedings of the plenary, that's National Assembly staff. Most of them, if you ask me, I would say 80% of them who were outside here. Major issues are that some people who came from outside Abuja for plenary, for public to observe the plenary or for public hearing, one thing or the other, by invitation of the National Assembly, some of those people were locked out. And then their fate is hanging in the balance.
We came for budget defense, for Senate Committee on Finance. We don't even know anything until we got here. We came as far from Ilorin. So when we got here, we met the door, the gate lock.
We expect that this will continue to happen till the Labour and TUC cut off the strike.
Let me talk my mind. Really affected our work because I can see that some clerks are going inside, some honorable members are going inside. Why are we outside? And they are keeping us. So why are we outside?
The NLC trying to make workers to understand that they have their rights.
The security house there turned to a waiting room where most staff who came this early morning, as early as 7, 8, because some staff who live far away from Abuja, they come very early. Some of them, when they came this morning, discovered that they couldn't get entrance. In fact, they've turned that place into a sleeping room. So we expect that this industrial action will be called off as soon as possible so that normal business here at the National Assembly will continue. From the National Assembly, Ignatius Nkwo, NTA News.
Thank you, Ignatius. In the meantime, the Senate has added its voice to the appeal on organized labor to, in the interests of the nation and respect for rule of law, call off the ongoing nationwide strike. The lawmakers noted that the strike, if allowed to continue, could lead to economic collapse in the country. National Assembly correspondent Lami Ali has more on that.
If this strike is allowed to continue, Nigerians will be the worse for it. Amicably resolve this crisis, since it has nothing to do with their demands, and begin to look at what happened and what has not happened in the past. You are opening wounds. We wanted a stop to this. I think we have obligation not only to intervene, but to do everything we can to find solution.
The Senate, in a unanimous motion raised by the Majority Leader Opeyemi Bamidele, noted events leading up to the strike and the hardship it has caused on citizens.
Senate leadership, led by the Senate President, should invite the leadership of the concerned labor unions, TUC, NLC, ASU, to an emergency meeting in order to discern what the real issues are and how to find solutions to them.
A motion from Senator Victor Ume and 34 others urged the federal government to upgrade the Eastern Rail Line, which traverses 4 geopolitical zones from Port Harcourt to Maiduguri.
The federal government is missing a huge amount of revenue by the exclusion of the Eastern Rail Line in the ongoing railway standardization and modernization program.
Identify and provide favorable terms to private investors, especially in the areas of tax concession, to encourage private-public partnership arrangement on this project.
Plenary featured second reading of the bill seeking the establishment of Federal University of Mining and Geosciences, Jos Plateau State, sponsored by Senator Diket Blanc. The bill to establish Federal College of Aviation Technology in Remo, Ogun State, sponsored by Senator Gbenga Daniel, and the bill to establish the Nigerian Maritime University, Okerinkoko, Delta State, sponsored by Senator Joel Onuapo Thomas.
Establishing the Federal University of Mining and Geosciences, JOS, will enable Nigeria build the domestic human capacity.
Nigeria can further strengthen its aviation sector, boost economic growth, and promote connectivity both domestically and internationally.
Use and adapt existing technologies in the maritime industry, but also to improve on them and develop new ones.
We need to begin to think deeply about growing capacity and skills in technology-driven areas.
Plenary commenced with the administration of oath on Okudili Akobundu as Senator representing Abia Central. Meanwhile, Senate observed a minute silence in honor of late Professor Ben Nwabweze following a motion from Senator Tony Ngoye. From the National Assembly, Lami Ali, NTA News.
And still on the labor strike, the House of Representatives has passed a resolution urging organized labor to suspend its ongoing strike and allow for dialogue with the National Assembly leadership to resolve identified grievances. This came up at Wednesday's plenary. National Assembly correspondent Mitari Ikwen brings us the details.
At the commencement of plenary, there was one burning issue on the minds of lawmakers: the ongoing industrial action by organized labor and the effects on the generality of Nigerians, paralyzing activities across the country. This prompted a motion of urgent public importance raised by Deputy Speaker Benjamin Kalu.
The NLC and all the unions in Nigeria, that they should trust us once again, that we will use diplomacy where necessary, to engage as usual, to come together to find a lasting solution for their pain.
Shield your sword for now and allow our leaders, the Senate President, the Speaker, Deputy Speaker, and Deputy Senate President, to wade into this matter and bring it to its final conclusion.
We that are representing the people are pleading with labor to call off that strike because the innocent people of Imo State are suffering. And the suffering is so much, Mr. Speaker.
One way or the other, everyone is feeling the heat of the industrial action by labor. Some lawmakers frown at the motive for the current strike.
anything that happened between the Nigerian Labour leader president and some citizen of Imod State. This should not be the basis of suffocating government activities. It should not be the basis of shutting down Nigeria.
Quickly hasten this dialogue to bring all parties on board and look at the overall interests of Nigerians. It will come to a point, if they are not backing out, that Nigerians, the greater majority of Nigerians, are even those that are not in the labor, movement.
Shades of opinions by lawmakers. However, the motion by the Deputy Speaker receives overwhelming support in the House, leading the Speaker to put the question.
Those in support of this motion should say aye. Aye. Those against should say nay. The ayes have it. So this motion is referred to the Committee on Labour and also to the leadership of the House to engage with the leadership of the Senate to find the means and ways to actually get the Labour to suspend this strike action.
The House had to suspend items on its order paper and cut short plenary to adjourn sitting till Thursday to enable the leadership of the National Assembly engage with Labour leaders towards an amicable resolution of the situation. Lawmakers are hopeful that the dialogue will be fruitful and will lead to eventual suspension of the industrial action. From the National Assembly, Mitaire Ikben, NTA News.
Thank you, Mitaire. In his own reaction, the Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris, says the ongoing strike by organized labor unions is ill-timed, considering federal government's desire and efforts to engage the leadership of the unions.
I think that Labour should have explored more other avenues to ventilate their grievances. But I'm aware that there is an ongoing effort now. There's a meeting ongoing between Labour and the federal government. We hope that that will lead to a very peaceful resolution of the impasse. We don't believe that strikes are necessary at this point. This is a time for all of us to come together. All hands must be on deck so that Nigeria can recover lost time. Not at this point that the president is trying to, rekindle the economy, restart our process towards economic prosperity. Strikes like this, will do more harm than good in leading us to the prosperous nation that we all desire to achieve. So I call on Labour to see wisdom, to understand that this is not time for them to strike. We know their grievances, and it's unfortunate that the president of Nigerian Labour Congress, Comrade Ajero, has that encounter in Imo. It is most regrettable. No Nigerian should be subjected to that. So government surely is not party to that. It's unfortunate that it has happened, but at the same time, we feel that it is not good for them to embark on strike. They should embrace more purposeful avenues of resolving whatever problems there are.
The minister addressed the media shortly after declaring open the 19th All Nigeria Editors Conference on behalf of the President, Bola Tinubu, in Uyo, the Akwa Ibom state capital. We now link up with the Director General, Michael Imodu, National Institute for Labour Studies, Ilori, Comrade Isa Aremu, to get his own reaction. Hello, Comrade. It's good to see you.
Yes, Halima, good to hear your voice, and through you, good evening to all our viewers.
Thank you. Now, can you give us your views on the current happenings between the federal government and labor unions?
Well, I think it's already an open knowledge from your background reports that after the contestation, legitimate contestation by Labour over the unfortunate, avoidable, and indeed condemnable violence, inflicted on the president of the NSC, I think we are now seeing the movement from contestation between the government and Labour moving towards cooperation to discuss and find a way out of the crisis, which is again is part of the features of labor relations over the years. After so much disputes, contestation, at the end of the day, the parties have to return to negotiation table to find a way out of it. So I think it's exciting that the Office of the National Security Advisor has brought all the stakeholders together, and I'm happy to see the Honorable Minister of Labour, Simon Lalong, the two ministers, including the Minister of State, Honorable Nkiru, as well as the leaders of the NSC and TUC now engaging to find a way out of the crisis. I think one takeaway from this development is that all the parties should have mutual respect for each other. Labor is a critical factor of national development. And an injury to labor, I think NSC, TUC have made the point, it's an injury to the entire nation. And I think it's important that we have a way to handle labor issues with care. Labor has to be well nurtured, be listened to, and whatever the disagreement, we should not engage in things that become quite dysfunctional as we're having at times. But at the end of the day, it has to be resolved through negotiation. And I am happy that the two parties are coming together now to discuss about that. And they've come a long way. Fatih, you recollect that after the removal of petroleum subsidy, both the federal government, the two labor centers came out with 15-point agreement. And they did so through dialogue, through discussion, peaceful way to get it done. I think today we are talking to a presidential wage award, 35,000. They also agreed to suspend payment of VAT, a number of agreements. They were all done through negotiation. I think this is the way to go. No party should engage in self-help, as we have seen now in Imod, with all the implication for industrial stability throughout the country. When I mean self-help is that government should not engage in measures that inflict pain on labor. And labor too should not engage in avoidable, endless, protests that will lead to what we have seen now. What we need to do is to return to bargaining process, and Nigeria has a well-tested peaceful way of resolving conflict in the world of work. So what I'm saying here is that, Fatih, it's quite exciting that the two parties are talking now, and I hope very soon they will find an amicable resolution. I'm happy everybody, including National Assembly members, I've just had the Honorable Minister of Information. They've condemned what has happened. So it's unacceptable. Nigeria has respect for freedom of association, but one good turn deserves another. And I think I'm happy organized labor had agreed to consult their relevant organs and relook at the measures they have taken. I have no doubt as democratic organizations, labor will be sensitive to the appeal of the government, and at the same time look at the implication of the actions, for the welfare of their members. There's a lot this government and labor can do together. We have the 8-point agenda, thrust of which is to eradicate poverty. I think labor and federal government can work together. So I think now we have to move from advocacy to real dialogue. Advocacy means that everybody party emphasize position. Now dialogue means that there will be compromise, and make sure that we learn lessons so that we don't have this kind of experience again.
Okay, thank you very much. So we now look forward to a quick resolution of the issues on the table.
Absolutely. Like what has happened before. After so much dispute, contestation, there will always be a resolution of the conflict.
How do we guard against, future occurrence?
I think the way to do so is that, we have to address the underlying factors that first of all started the crisis in Imod. I think there is crisis of compensation in this country. Workers' pay hardly could take them home. I think we have to, and I'm happy President Bola Tinubu has put in a framework. He also has his commitment to improving on living wage, not just minimum wage. I think it's important we address that. But even with the best of effort, there will only be disputes. There will only be conflict in the world of work. But let's use the machinery of social dialogue to resolve it. If we cannot resolve the problem, we have industrial arbitration panel. If we can't get it done, you have the National Industrial Court. Also there we have a series of steps that could be taken to avoid crisis. But the bottom line is that all the parties must reason together, Fatih. Not that you go down to your position. Reasoning together means that there should be compromise along the line for the parties to resolve it. But I have no doubt in my mind that what has happened, was a departure from the rule. I mean, we've had series of conflict before. Adiro is the 7th president of NLC, and I don't know of, there are also friction. I don't know of any president that has been so much openly asserted as witness. But I'm happy the NSA has said that those who did this have been apprehended. There will be justice to make sure that this kind of thing doesn't happen again. And I've no doubt that it will be resolved.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. We're all looking forward to a quick resolution of the issues on the table so that we all go back to work. That has been the Director General of the Michael Imod Institute for Labor Studies in Ilori, Kwara State, Comrade Isaremu. This is NTA News Extra. Up ahead, the off-circle elections may have come and gone. What are the lessons learned? Join us for answers and more reports as we take our first breather for the night. See you. You're welcome back. We're glad to have you back with us. And we begin with the cheering news. Reports just reaching us indicate that the Nigeria Labour Congress and the Trade Union Congress have suspended their nationwide strike. And away from that, the Confederation of APC Supporters Group have urged organized labor to seek alternative resolutions in settling grievances rather than interrupting government business capable of sabotaging the economy. The Director General of the support group, Mohammed Kelani, said this during a media briefing on the state of the nation. Abubakar Akwanga was there.
It was weeks ago when the NLC National President Joseph Ajero came under siege by unknown thugs, and this precipitated reactions and condemnations. But the Confederation of APC Support Groups says the outpour of emotions on the Imod incident was overwhelming and should be considered for a more robust dialogue instead of embarking on a strike.
So far, the Inspector General of Police has set up a committee to investigate how he was attacked and manhandled instead of heating up the polity. This will ensure for unity and development where justice and fair play will prevail.
The group commended President Tinubu's transformational agenda across sectors, especially in the oil and gas industry, which it says is yielding results under Mele Kyari.
More wells are coming, that of Chad Basin, that of Kolomani River, that of Bida Basin, Benotro, and Sokoto Basin. By the time all this start production, the sky is our limit.
Mohammed Kelani appreciates citizens' patience in the current economic reality and lauded the present steps being taken to address challenges at all levels of governance.
President Bola Tinubu will on Thursday join other heads of state and government in Guinea-Bissau, to celebrate the country's 50th Independence Anniversary and Armed Forces Day. President Tinubu will arrive in Bissau on Thursday for the ceremony, which will be hosted by President Umaru Sissoco Embalo. Guinea-Bissau marked its 50th Independence Anniversary on September the 24th, 2023. But the government has scheduled all celebrations for November the 16th, 2003. The president is expected to return to Nigeria same day. In another development, President Bola Tinubu has declared open the 19th All Nigeria Editors Conference in Uyo, the Akwa Ibom state capital. In a message through the Minister of Information and National Orientation, the president acknowledged the vision of the Nigerian editors in developing partnership with the federal government towards the growth and development of the country. Salihu Guarara has more on that.
Beyond writing the headlines, Nigerian editors are gathered here to also create content in line with the current economic realities as they share quality ideas as critical stakeholders on how to stimulate the country's economic growth. For 5 days, members of the PEM profession are expected to pursue this agenda through technical sessions. President Bola Tinubu, in a message, urged the participants to uphold the ethics of their profession by providing positive media coverage that can enhance investors' confidence and attract the needed investments.
Due to technological advancement in this digital age, where information flows ceaselessly, the responsibility placed on the shoulders of editors is burdensome. The power to influence opinions, to illuminate truth, and to guide public discourse rests with the words that you choose, the stories that you tell, and the perspectives that you highlight. The convergence of traditional and digital media provide us with new avenues to engage and inform the public. Let us therefore explore these tools in order to bridge gaps, amplify voices, and foster a more informed citizenry and inclusive society.
Government, he added, is responsive to the yearnings and aspirations of the citizens.
We are faced with the proliferation of misinformation, disinformation, and false narratives, which threaten the fabric of our society, and it is our collective duty to combat this menace. Through fact-checking, responsible reporting, promoting media and digital literacy, we can fortify our defenses against the corrosive effects of fake news.
I want to request and plead, therefore, that you use the media to engender a new template of reportage, one that is developmental oriented, where our leaders are called to account without being overly obtrusive.
How do we do it? Don't give up your job, your obligation to society as the fourth estate of the realm.
Stakeholders urged the media to think global and act local by being conscious not to break the country while trying to break the news. In Uyo, capital of Akwa Ibom State, Saliu Gwanara, NTA News.
Now, the Bayelsa, Imo, and Kogi governorship elections may have come and gone, but there's so much lessons to learn as Nigeria takes steps to improve on her democracy. Mie Ogidi reports on highlights of the contest and the challenges before the political parties.
Like a journey, the three cycle elections in Bayelsa, Imo, and Kogi states ended, but one more river to cross, that is court litigations, from aggrieved political parties or candidates. From the campaigns to the peace accords, down to the ballot, indeed was a long walk to victory. 52 candidates contested, but only 3, as expected, won. Ododo of Kogi, Up of Imo, and Idris of Bayelsa State. Now, the elections are over. Political parties back to their shells. Time to review and come out stronger next year for the Ondo and Edo contest. But INEC thinks there is a lot of challenge before the political parties if Nigeria electoral system must get it right.
Political parties acting individually or collectively through the Inter-Party Advisory Council IPAC also have an obligation to impress on your members, candidates and supporters to maintain the peace during the campaign rallies and procession. I urge you to also appeal to them to maintain the same disposition on election day and beyond.
The blame not only for the political parties.
To reaffirm citizens' confidence, INEC must continue to demonstrate impartiality, transparency, and a commitment to conducting free, fair, and credible elections.
Be that as it may, some lessons from the 3 cycle polls left much to be desired. Voters turned out very poor and discouraging. The experience in Kogi State, where some result sheets were pre-filled, not a motivating side, and most annoying was electoral violence. A case in point was the kidnapping of SPO in Bayelsa State. When will this ugly political culture be addressed? Many will always make the consoling remark that Nigeria's democracy is nascent or growing. Maybe all this will end when it matures. Maybe. Mie Okidi, NTA News.
Many thanks, Mie. And still on election matters, the Court of Appeal sitting in Lagos has affirmed Babajide Sanwo-Olu and Obafemi Hamzat as the duly elected governor and deputy governor of Lagos State. The judgment was delivered by a 3-member panel of justices in 2 separate appeals brought against the election of the governor and his deputy. Bola Hakim completes the report.
Labour Party governorship candidate Gbadebo Rhodes Vivo and his PDP counterpart Abdulaziz Adediran approached the appeal court to set aside the decision of the Election Petition Tribunal, which upheld Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu's victory in the general election. Going through the ground of appeals, the 3-member panel in separate judgment unanimously agreed that the issues raised in the appeal by the appellants could not hold water. The court ruled that the appellants have failed to prove their case beyond reasonable doubts by not supporting their claims with necessary documents and proofs, and thereby struck out the case.
It seems to me that the judges went into past judgments and tie all their decisions to either Apex Court or Court of Appeal decisions, and that is in sync with those principles. So for me, as somebody, we are all educated, it seems to me that it's very thorough. They did a wonderful job.
Learned Justice of the Court of Appeal reviewed extensively the provisions of the Constitution of Nigeria. And I must say, with all due respect, I agree with their decision that apart from you making an allegation, the way we analyze things in the telly, in the social media, is different from the way the court process do take place.
Enough. We didn't show enough proof that he actually forged the result, that we should have invited the school principal and a lot of other reasons they gave. Yeah, that's just it, and the appeal has been thrown out. We're going to review the situation and we'll take a decision.
It will be recalled that the Election Petition Tribunal dismissed the case on September 25 for lack of merit. In Lagos, Bolaji Hakim, NTA News.
And from the court, we go to the National Assembly, where the House of Representatives Committee on Muslim Pilgrimage says it has set a machinery in motion to investigate the recent cancellation of visas for passengers who arrived Jeddah from Nigeria for the Lesser Hajj. This formed part of discussions during the inaugural meeting of the committee. Amina Saidu reports that the committee also resolved to address challenges faced during Hajj operations towards a successful exercise in the year 2024.
Chairman House Committee on Muslim Pilgrims said the committee has mapped out a plan to ensure that challenges faced in the past are tackled. With daunting challenges faced by Nigerian pilgrims in the year 2023, an all-inclusive committee is confident that the issues raised are surmountable.
We are to investigate and to report back on what has happened, that our intended Umrah being rejected from the Saudi authority, which is a very, very important project.
Sensitization for intending pilgrims with the hope of engaging all stakeholders bringing their expertise to change the narrative was also discussed.
We need to start to plan and find a way on how we can support the Hajj Commission, because sometimes they are always overshadowed and overwhelmed with capacities.
But this committee, it is the most powerful committee that can interface with the Hajj Commission, possibly to the Saudi government, to see how can we find an easy way for our people to produce the hardship for them.
The Committee on Muslim Pilgrims is a creation of the Standing Orders of the House of Representatives with a mandate of measures relating to Muslim pilgrims, oversight of the Hajj Commission, diplomatic and consular services on pilgrimage, and annual budget estimates. From the National Assembly, Amina Saidu, NTA News.
The World Council of Churches Executive Committee is calling for the implementation of the recommendations by the United Nations Report on Environmental Justices, especially in Ogoniland. Oguchukwuka Ona has the details.
With the theme Insecurity, Environment Degradation, Injustice and the Church of God in Nigeria, the panelists say time is of the essence in addressing and overcoming these challenges.
We talked about Ogoni land, and we also call upon governments and authorities in Nigeria to implement the recommendations of a United Nations report that was calling for environmental justice and for restoration of nature.
We would also want to encourage all of us to take seriously the call for more renewable energy.
This meeting, the executive committee meeting they've been holding in Nigeria, has become a great blessing to the Christian community in Nigeria.
The committee is happy with what it terms the strong ecumenical relations in the country and wants it sustained through dialogue and cooperation. The World Council of Churches was established 75 years ago to fashion ways of uniting churches worldwide and address contemporary challenges. In Abuja, Ogochkuka Ona, NTA News.
Well, if you thought the National Directorate of Employment NDE is moribund and done with, then think again. Because job creation as an integral component designed to propel the renewed hope agenda of President Tinubu is being given effect with a template for the NDE as the leading agency in this drive. And the agency, too, is gearing up for the new challenge. Kelvin Ebonweve now reports.
The quest to lift 50 million Nigerians out of poverty is one taken seriously by the federal government through multi-intervention approach. And the National Directorate of Employment, NDE, even though it already has some ongoing skills development and entrepreneurship schemes, this roadmap, designed and examined here, is to expand its scope of programs and align them with the core objectives of the Renew Hope agenda of the President Bola Tinubu's administration. But the Minister of State, Labour and Employment wants greater visibility on the part of the agency.
Even saying, okay, we are going to empower digital economy in order to reflect the current reality and affect our people positively. So if you sit down there and be saying in the beginning, when I came here, this is how they used to do it. When the other did it, this is how it was. No. What we have to do now, a roadmap that will attract positive change for all the people who are in the street. We do not want our children to still be roaming down the street. When we have equipment, when we have instruments to train them.
The vocational, entrepreneurial, agricultural skills acquisition programs of the NDE, as well as activities in the public works sectors, are all in line with the economic policy thrust of the federal government, which has special focus on employment creation for sustainable growth and development.
To enable the NDE perform optimally, the agency is currently being supported to improve its work and operational environment. In Abuja, Kelvin Ewonwaye, NTA News.
Now, MTN has assured its investors and subscribers that the company will remain the leading mobile operator in the Nigerian market for years to come. This was at the MTN Capital Market Day in Abuja, where the company disclosed its strategy for the future and investment opportunities to stakeholders and investors. Ekene Indiluwe was there.
It has been 2 days of robust engagement between MTN and its investors, an opportunity to know where the company stands in the capital market. Getting familiar with Nigeria's business environment is important for these stakeholders to make critical investment decisions, and key government officials were at the forum to speak on current reforms intended to attract investors.
Our ambition and aspiration is to keep all the number of taxes you have to pay, whether it's local government plus state plus federal, to a single digit, which means it should be less than 10.
MTN is proud of its role in the Nigerian market, with awards as most compliant company on the stock exchange by the NGX and one of the most tax compliant companies in Nigeria by the Federal Inland Revenue Service. The company is strategizing to increase their presence in the fintech sector, and they are confident in the prospects that the Nigerian market holds for its investors.
If you look 5 to 10 years out, the consumption of data is largely going to be in the home. So we're busy arranging ourselves to be able to deliver world-class experience for homes at price points people can afford.
We are fully Nigerian, we have confidence in Nigeria, and we invite everybody else. Listen, the market is open. If we are doing well here, you too can do well.
As a long-term investor, I'm comfortable with where they are and where they have promised they will be heading.
It's been a fantastic capital markets day, so we appreciate the efforts that the management have gone to. We came excited about Nigeria, we came excited about MTN Nigeria, and we're leaving even more excited.
Ideas have been exchanged, challenges and prospects identified. Stakeholders at this gathering are hopeful that the outcome will be utilized for effective policies in the communications and technology sector. In Abuja, Ekene Ndulwe, NTA News.
When we return after the break, you get to know how far Africa is to achieving a single air transportation. The details in a moment. It's good to have you join us again on News Extra tonight. The Minister of Aviation and Aerospace Development, Festus Keyamo, has reaffirmed the federal government's commitment towards the implementation of the Single African Air Transport Market, SATM, towards improving air connectivity and the African integration. The minister stated this during the opening of a 3-day conference of the African Civil Aviation Commission and the African Air Transport Industry, currently taking place in Abuja. Our correspondent, Aliyu Kabir, was there.
The convergence of critical stakeholders in the aviation industry from across the continent is to enhance strategy towards the successful implementation of a single African air transport market, SATM. The conference, with the theme, Africa Wants to Fly, marked the 24th Yamoussoukro Transition Day anniversary, which the Minister of Aviation and Aerospace Development, Festus Keyamo, emphasized that practical steps such as regulatory harmonization, safety standards and the removal of restrictions on air services, among numerous issues, must be taken into consideration for achieving target for the overall development of the continent.
The need to speed up full implementation of the Yamoussoukro decision with regard to liberalization of access to air transport markets in Africa cannot be overemphasized.
One of the great challenges for the aviation industry is achieving more capacity and better utilization of equipment and facilities is the restrictive nature of operations. These range from policies to high charges, which are then reflected in the passenger tickets.
Without single African air transport market, African Continental Free Trade Agreement will continue to be a mirage in the coming years.
Participants brainstormed on possible ways to eliminating obstacles towards stimulating intra-African connectivity and to ensure successes associated with the implementation of a single African aviation transport market. In Abuja, Aliyu Kabir, NTA.
The livestock industry, apart from its diverse nutritional benefits to the country, is also a multi-billion naira business to those engaged in it. Well, for them, life and business are about to get better as the federal government is set to implement new policies and programs that will revive and strengthen the industry. This is coming from no other than the one who should know, the Minister of Agriculture and Food Security, Abubakar Kyari. Our correspondent, Musa Baba Aliyu, tells us more about this good news.
Climate change has been identified as a major environmental challenge affecting livestock development in Nigeria. The incessant clashes between farmers and livestock breeders is often linked to the effects of the climate change. However, the national chairman of All Progressives Congress, APC, Abdullahi Umar Ganduje, says mitigation and adoption of modern animal breeding is a sure way to address the problem.
Strategies to mitigate farmer-cattle herder conflict include, but not limited to, creation of awareness of climate change, tree planting campaign, use of improved technology, interreligious dialogue, payment of compensation, establishment of grazing land policy, adoption of ranching policy, early warning mechanism, animal identification, and the traceability system.
Minister of State for Agriculture and Food Security, Sabi Abdullahi, says government has identified the challenges confronting livestock and efforts are underway to address them.
The ministry is promoting livestock program that have received the good attention of the Federal Executive Council in an effort to bridge the gap between demand and supply of animal and animal products. Some of these programs include: 1. National Pasture Development Program, which is focused on promoting homestead and commercial pasture production for sustainable ruminant production and reduce conflict between crop farmers and livestock herders.
It is manifest that the issue of food and nutrition security is very critical and central to the renewed hope agenda of the federal government. Consequently, as a regulatory body in the livestock subsector, NIAS will continue to strive to be very innovative, strategic, and transformational.
The 25th meeting of the Animal Science Association of Nigeria and Nigerian Institute of Animal Science focused on the challenges of climate change on animal agriculture. Musa Aliyu, NTA News.
And still talking farm produce, most markets in Benue State are witnessing increased availability of different new farm produce as the harvest season sets in. Elias Itiav visited some markets to have a feel of the situation regarding the affordability and patronage of this farm produce.
The Ember months are characterized with increased activities, of which farmers also engage in the harvesting of different crops such as grains and tubers. This development comes with a corresponding increase and availability of these farm produce in the markets to enable farmers cater for their family demands and other needs.
There are food in the market, but no money. So we are begging to our government to help us.
The expenses were there inside the market, and be our problem.
However, it is expected that prices of these farm produce will drop due to demand and supply forces.
When there is much harvest or crops into the market, the prices normally drops.
We have challenges of patronage. People are not patronizing them well. They are coming, but they are complaining of the price, but the price is higher.
For some, the prices are a reflection of the cost of sourcing and conveying these farm produce from the rural communities where bulk of these crops are produced.
We believe that other being the transport as in the fuel is lower, then we too will know how to say, and no matter how it is, we manage to cooperate with the buyers.
And everybody knows what is happening in Nigeria now. The means of movement is not easy for them. If not, those products are so much available in the market here.
All things being equal, most markets in the state are witnessing increased availability of different farm produce, including cereals, tubers, and legumes. However, the prices of these products remain relatively high, a development farmers and traders alike attribute to the high cost of transportation. In Makudi, Elias, Itiaf, NTA News.
Thank you, Elias. Now, if you have ever tried to own land or a landed property in the Federal Capital Territory, you will bear witness to the wheeling and dealing the venture involves. You might end up being the third or fourth owner of a piece of land. Well, all that might be coming to an end as the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, has inaugurated a task force on the issuance of certificate of occupancy for mass housing, recovery of land use contravention fees, and other sharp practices. Onezi Yakubu has the details.
This 10-member task force has the mandate of ensuring that each of the houses in the mass housing estate in the FCT has its own certificate of occupancy, which must be paid for. FCT Minister Yeson Wiki frowns at the rate at which most of the residential houses have been converted to commercial buildings, a development he says will not be allowed to continue. He directs recertification of landed property in a bid to adhere to the city master plan, noting that property owners who contravene Land Use Act will be penalized.
One of the problems we have is that go to all the areas today, areas of residential have returned to commercial, and that is not the way it's supposed to be. And the only way people will be deterred from doing this is to make sure that we discourage them. And discouraging them means that if you want to do it, you have a penalty to pay. And that penalty must be severe.
The task force chaired by the Senior Special Assistant to the FCT Minister on Lands, Urban and Regional Planning, Michael Chinda, has FCD Executive Secretary Shehu Hadi Ahmad as the Secretary.
We will not spare anyone that has contravened, and we will do the needful. I can assure you that we do this job with precision, diligence, and high level of professionalism.
Other members include the Director of the Department of Development Control, Land Administration, Surveying and Mapping, among other relevant departments. The task force has 1 month to submit its report. Onoze Yakubu, NTA News.
We'll take another short break now. There'll be more when we return in just a moment. Don't go away. The federal government has identified education and skills development as panacea for addressing poverty and hunger in Nigeria. Vice President Kashim Shettima stated this during a meeting with a delegation from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, led by the president of its Global Growth and Opportunity Division, Mr. Rogers Vuris, at the presidential villa. The vice president urged the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation to forge a strategic partnership with the Nigerian government to enhance agricultural productivity, improve nutrition, and strengthen the education sector. He also charged the foundation to support President Bola Tinubu's gender empowerment initiatives, collaborating expanding access to quality education, and further provide opportunities for skills development, particularly in the agricultural sector. President of the Global Growth and Opportunity Division said he and his team were in the country to strengthen existing collaborations with Nigeria and also seek other areas of partnership with the new administration, especially in priority areas. He commended the Tinubu administration's agenda in food security and healthcare delivery, while acknowledging the Vice President's leadership and commitment to nutrition and agricultural transformation. Now, many Nigerians are becoming apprehensive, and rightly too, if you ask me, because the rising cases of students' abductions in schools across the country, especially tertiary institutions, is becoming worrisome. Equally worrisome is the renewed farmers' headache crisis in some areas of the country. Well, in Nasarawa State, these scenarios are not lost on the state government, which has fashioned a new security architecture to secure schools from further attacks and contain prevailing security challenges in communities around the state. This, among other resolutions, was adopted at the Expanded Security Council meeting held in Lafia, the Nasarawa State capital. Aliyu Tijani was there.
In recent times, there have been reported cases of farmer headache crisis in 6 local government areas of Nasarawa, Akwanga, Doma, Kiana, Obi and Awe, thereby threatening relative peace in the affected communities. More worrisome, government says, is the influx of suspicious persons into Kefi and Karu, as well as the recent cases of adoptions of students and lecturers in some tertiary institutions in the state. The state government says is rising up to the challenge, and this meeting with heads of security agencies in the state, traditional rulers and heads of tertiary institutions is to adopt measures in tackling security challenge in parts of the state.
Part of the reason for this meeting is also to appeal to our royal fathers to resume the engagement of the local vigilante groups that they have done in the past, and we have been able to have very good results.
While security agencies have been commended for being proactive in successful rescue operations of abducted persons, there is need to activate preventive mechanism in tackling emerging crimes in the state.
You know, the hoodlums, they normally take advantage in the night, especially in the night, to be causing havoc. So now it has been agreed that, especially in the night, a checkpoint with the established stop and search will be intensified with other security agencies.
We've really spoken on this matter. We discussed at length, and solutions have been provided.
The Safe School initiative is to be extended to all tertiary institutions across the state. In Lafia, Aliu Tijani, NTA News.
Food security is something that cannot be compromised, being that food is one of the necessities of life. In realization of this, the Minister of Water Resources and Sanitation, Professor Joseph Otzel, says water dams play a pivotal role in promoting agricultural activities, which requires more synergy from relevant stakeholders. This is in order to accelerate the actualization of President Bola Tinubu's drive to ensure food sufficiency in the country. The minister gave this indication while inaugurating projects at the Upper Niger River Basin Development Authority, Minna, Niger State, in continuation of his familiarization tour of the River Basin Development Authorities across the country. Usaina Musa has more on that report.
During the visit to the Upper Niger River Basin Development Authority, Minna, the Minister Joseph Uteb was conducted around some of the water facilities, including the heavy-duty equipment stand, empowerment center, and Songhai Integrated Farm, where he presented certificate of graduation to some of the trainees. The minister also inaugurated a dam road, agro-tourism facility, 2 concrete reservoirs with 780.7 cubic meter capacity, and that of 1,197.250 liters of water. The reservoirs are positioned to supply water to Rafenyashi irrigation scheme and dam, all of which were also inaugurated by the minister.
It's a mandate given to us with the Federal Ministry of Water Resources and Sanitation to boost food production. I am calling on state governments to avail irrigable lands to our 12 river basins for irrigation purposes. I'm also calling on state governments to also venture into creation of irrigation facilities. This is the only way that food production will be boosted in Nigeria, and that can also revive the economy of Nigeria.
The minister had earlier paid a courtesy visit to Government House, Minna, where he was received by the State Deputy Governor, Yakubu Garba, and the Emir of Minna, Umar Faruk Bahagu. The minister is expected to have an engagement with management and staff of the authority afterwards. In Minna, Usaina Musa, NTA News.
Now, turning ideas into prospects for manufacturing and marketable realities was on the front burner as activities marking this year's Science and Technology Week are rounded off in Kano. Not surprising that the exhibition showcased rare talents and wonderful initiatives by youths, reminiscence of the NTA's School Science and Arts exhibitions. Awal Salihu reports that stakeholders were unanimous that a brighter future awaits Kano State once the talents of the young scientists, innovators, and entrepreneurs that abound in the state are maximally exploited.
The week-long celebration provided an opportunity to reflect on the remarkable achievements recorded by prominent scientists, engineers, researchers, and inventors who laid a solid foundation for the development of Kano State. The Science and Technology Week kick-started in Kano with a quiz and debate competitions between various secondary schools in the state, as well as exhibition by some talented students and individuals. The aim is to reignite the passion for science, technology, and innovation among secondary school students. Salisu Hassan Musa is one of the innovators that invented digital electronics trainer for teaching computer science, mathematics, physics, and engineering through Logic Gate.
Digital electronics trainer is a teaching aid for teaching logic gates in secondary schools, universities, colleges of education and polytechnics.
Kano State Deputy Governor Aminu Abdusalam Gwarzo used the platform to restate government's determination to supporting scientific and technological advancements aimed at moving the state forward.
We have to give and attach the required and deserved priority to education.
We have to imbibe the love of this subject, love of mathematics, love of chemistry, love of physics, love of biology, and love of those subjects that are to do with the sciences.
Presentations were made to winners of the quiz and debate competitions, exhibitors, and distinguished personalities. With the needed support and encouragement to these young inventors, the future looks bright for Kano State in areas of science, technology, and innovation. In Kano, Awal Salisu, NTA News.
And from Kano, we take you to Gombe State, where the government is involving more critical partners in the implementation of the state's development and investment plans. This was evident when the governor received delegation from Raw Materials Research and Development Council and Michigan University, United States of America. The high-level engagement centered on ways of impacting on agricultural resources and reviving the Lake Chad Basin to leverage its infrastructure for more viable economic activities in and around Gombe State, with particular drive on livestock, resilience, food security, and job creation for the teeming youths.
And the Federal Ministry of Finance also partnered in the new project that is livestock resilience, LPRES. Only recently they approved about $1.2 million for us to see. Why? Because we have the largest grazing reserve in Nigeria, in fact, indeed in entire Africa, 144,000 hectares, spanning through about 4 of our local governments.
It's going to be a grant to ensure that we have a model for which we hope that the other states will copy, and it will be a model that will cut across the entire value chain of dairy production, and also the matter of renewable energy for fish drying technologies.
We believe that Gombe State can be the model for all other states in Nigeria to follow. Also, we know we can explore with funding grants from development partners such as USAID and many other development partners that will be interested in partnering with Gombe State. Your Excellency, I must say that already I am very optimistic that this would be very positive and this would work.
This is coming as the state is making far-reaching impact in investment, information technology, and other enterprising skills that will improve the state's profile on the map of top states in Nigeria that are placing priorities to get their economies on the right trajectory. We'll take our final break now. When we come back, we take a peep into the sports world. Stay with us. Welcome back. The Information and Coordination Center, ICC, for the ECOWAS Regional Electricity Project, being financed with a grant of 30 million euros from the 10th European Development Fund, is set for inauguration. At a media briefing in its headquarters in Abomey, Calavi, Benin Republic, Secretary of the West African Power Pool, Apollonia Senguki, reveals the operational potential of the center to turn around the economic fortunes of West African states. Kenneth Nanim has that report.
The ECOWAS Regional Electricity Market was born out of the collaborative initiative of member states to enhance and facilitate cross-border electricity trade amongst countries of ECOWAS. It is also to strengthen the reliability of electricity supply and promote energy sufficiency to stimulate the economic development of the region. Ahead of the inauguration of the Information and Coordination Center, ICC, a €30 million European Development Fund assisted project, Secretary of the West African Power Pool, Singwoki, who spoke in French language, explains that ICC will serve as a regional trade platform that coordinates the operations of the regional energy system, allow eligible firms in ECOWAS countries to buy and sell energy through a transparent and competitive procedure. The initiative, the WAB Secretary says, is also to ensure that available power is sold to member countries at a minimum cost. The electricity market, he explains, has a huge prospect for expansion to other parts of Africa and Europe in due course. Kenneth Nanim, NTA News.
First Lady of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Senator Oluremi Tinubu, was in Maiduguri, the Borno State capital, to condole with the bereaved family, government and people of Borno State over the demise of Hajia Fatima Kyari, mother to the wife of the Borno State Governor, Dr. Falmata Babagana Zulum, who died last week in Abuja. Mohammed Goni now reports.
The First Lady was accompanied by the wife of Vice President Nana Shetima, that of National Chairman of the APC, Professor Hafsat Ganduje, as well as the wife of Minister of Agriculture, among others. Mrs. Tinubu, who was away on official engagement when the late Fatima Kyari died, prayed Allah to grant the deceased soul eternal rest and the bereaved family fortitude to bear the loss. Although she had asked the wife of the Vice President Nana Shetima to represent her at the funeral, she considered it important to personally come down to Borno to empathize with bereaved family, government and people of Borno over the loss.
Dr. Falmata, Babagana Zulum is somebody very, very dear to me, the way she treats her, and that's why I love her, because when somebody does that, she has a very good spirit. And not only that, I want to salute Your Excellency too, and commend you for the support you have given His Excellency, the Vice President, and by extension to my husband as well.
I want to convey my deep appreciation to you for finding time to come to Maiduguri and personally condole us over the demise of the mother of my wife, the First Lady of Borno State, despite their tight schedules. The relationship that exists between His Excellency Bola Tinubu's family and that of Borno State has been in existence for over a decade.
The governor, who noted the unwavering support of the family of the Vice President, prayed Allah to reward the entourage for the condolence visit and wish them journey mercies back home. In Maiduguri, Mohammed Goni, NTA News.
And that wraps it up on NTA News Extra tonight. It's always a pleasure being with you on the program. The program returns same time, same station next week. Until then, I am Fatima Abbas Hassan.